So, Big Josh Boy, I've got to ask you a question. This is something I'm like seriously worried about now.
Uh-oh.
So, have you ever noticed that you've never heard your parents take like I guess
You don't know
I
me.
guess yeah, I know, right? I was like, I don't know your life. Have you ever heard your parents take just like a ginormous like sicky poo, you know what I mean? Just like blow up a toilet,
No,
like go nuke
no,
on it, you
no.
know what I
That's
mean?
that's a good point. I don't live with my parents
Isn't that
anymore,
weird?
so like, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't live with my parents anymore either, but like going back through my childhood, I realized that I have never heard my parents butter a bowl. Like, it's just never, I've never thought about it. And then, like, before this episode, so last night, my wife and I had Mongolian barbecues, fucking delicious. But here's the thing, fucking chicken nuggets make me shit my pants. Like, Mongolian barbecue is just like, you're done. You're dead. You don't have internal organs anymore. And so
Your kid's gonna hear it.
dude, well, yeah, that's one thing. It's like in our house, our bathroom is actually like it shares a wall with our child, which will be like later on our children's bathroom.
Yeah.
Granted, like the toilet does not back up against the wall, but I was just like,
Oh, you'll hear that shit.
our kid's gonna hear that.
It goes bounces
But
off
that's
the walls.
not even what I was talking about right now that I'm worried about is that like so we have our house roommate. He's living with us right now. He's staying with us because he needed a place to stay until we moved into the house. So we're basically just roommates now. And his son was like hanging out with my wife in our room, and before we were recording, I just went in there and I was like, just fucking destroyed. You know, like we need a new toilet in this apartment. Like I would be surprised if we moved out of here and they didn't keep our security deposit. You know what I mean? Like it was bad, and I was like, when this kid is like 16, is he gonna remember the day that he was like playing in my room and I just fucking tormented him with the grossest like just like you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's seriously, I was sitting there and it's like I was so worried about it because it's kind of like, and this is gonna sound really weird, and it's just because I can't think of a different. Oh well, it's like being in a public bathroom, and when somebody enters the bathroom, you just like your butthole clenches up.
Yeah.
You're like, nope, nothing's coming out until they like wash their hands and leave, and then you're just like, you know what I mean? Like you resume
You're like, okay,
death incarnate.
take the pause button off.
Exactly. And I felt like that, and I was like, man, maybe I should have done something about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like shielded this innocent child from reality.
Gotta let them know what the real world is like. It's all chaos and
Exactly.
farts.
Are you afraid that you'll have kids and they'll hear you taking a fat shit?
Nah, I don't care.
No?
They need to know. They need to know. Everybody poops. Everybody destroys a bowl every once in a while. So here's the thing. The entire time that you were talking, in the past like week or so, a couple of people have talked to me about the podcast, like in my real life, and I've begrudgingly been like, oh yeah, sure, here's the name of the podcast, like check it out if you want. The whole time I'm thinking like, why do I ever tell people this fucking podcast exists? They're gonna be like, oh, you have a podcast where you talk about indie games, and then like the minute they start, this is what they're gonna hear. They're gonna be like, oh,
Yeah.
this is not what I wanted.
this is getting back to the setting the tone of the podcast kind of like I feel like it's just perfect because it's like we get the most horrendous, or I get the most horrendous shit out of the way early on.
Pun intended.
And then it's all uphill, you know what I mean? When you hit rock
Gotta start
bottom,
low,
the
so we
only
got
place
those
you can
high
go is up.
peaks. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I set low expectations. That's how I live my life.
Yeah.
Set low expectations, so I always deliver the best. Just hello and welcome to Indie Pod and Indie Games Podcast. Of course, this is your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we are bringing you a solid 3 indie game news stories before, of course, we get into News Cram, God Bless the Crowd, and your listener questions. But before we talk about any of that, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn, alongside the illustrious, my amazing co-host, the biggest of average Josh Boys. How you doing today, Big Josh Boy?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to talk about some indie games, not talk about shit.
That's all we talk about.
We never talk about anything else. It's all indie games.
Never.
Nothing. I can't think of another word that comes out of my mouth.
Never.
Never.
Not even a little bit. I do have to ask you, what's up, dude? You like me growing my beard out a bit? This is obviously for like video audiences. I'm trying to grow it out.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I'm losing my hair, so I gotta get some
Viking
hair
beard.
Else. Yeah, I'm gonna try to grow it out like a solid big.
You'd look good
with
it. Yeah.
See, because it's like this is going away. This is all going away. I already know. It's whatever. I'm never gonna look as cute as Big Josh boy.
Shave all your hair off, go bald, and just get the biggest Viking beard you can.
Exactly. So I feel like I'm trying to convince my wife to just let me shave my head because I said it a couple times. She's not into it, and it's like I feel if I grow a big beard and she thinks it's good, then I can shave my head and she'll be a little bit less annoyed about it. You know,
you're like, the hair up here is just going down here. It's just we're just pulling it right from the roots down here, and it just sucks into my head. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I would just
right?
I would love for one day for my wife to just wake up like she fell asleep, I shaved my head, and then she wakes up in the morning and like I just act like nothing happened. Like I just go about my day and she's like,
I've been bald since 20. What are you talking about? It's a serious condition. Like, why are you making fun of me, babe?
I'm like, you talking about my beard? I had this beard. What are you talking
about?
Well, like, what are you even talking?
Why are you being so weird right now?
Are you off your medication right now? Like, do you need to go see a doctor right now? Just gaslight my wife into believing that I had hair the day before, or I didn't have hair for like years before.
Yeah, we'd have to go back and edit every one of these podcast episodes. Put a bald cap on.
I wish.
I mean, it's a good thing you're wearing the hat. It's a good thing we're wearing the hat because you get away with it.
That's true. That's very true. I wish so. Like, I really, really wish that I cared enough about fucking with people to like put that much effort into something. Yeah.
It takes a dedicated person.
Yeah, exactly. Like put 100 hours of just 1 week into like going back and basically scrubbing the last 10 years of me having hair to just being bald. Be fucking great. That would be amazing. Like I guarantee she'd murder me, but it would be great. Like she would like start to doubt herself, then start to doubt like her own sanity, and then by the end of the night I would just be like a bloody mess. Like, you know, when in Fallout New Vegas, when you get the bloody mess perk and you shoot somebody and they literally just explode and there's just chunks of meat everywhere, that would be me.
Yeah. And there, 10 minutes in, is your video game reference.
That's fair. That's a fair point. So, Big Josh Boy, of course, we've got to hop through some housekeeping. Please check out our Sock Monkey Studios developer interview. Yeah. They are talking about their game called Fish Tanks. Game looks super weird.
It is.
That is going to go live this upcoming Wednesday, 1 day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. Do you remember about this interview? I always feel weird asking you about them because you generally do them like a month in advance.
Yeah. This one was funny because there was a point where I forget what they were saying. We were talking about, this isn't really related to the game, but they were talking about the fact like of how COVID is affecting obviously the idea of people going to events and showing off the game, and this is very much a party game that would be great at events like this because it's like, you know, get a bunch of people and try to beat each other. It's very much like mini game-esque. But one of the things they were saying was, yeah, we went to events, you know, you get like swag and shirts and things like that. We've got all these shirts to give people. And I was like, oh, you can send them to me. Like, it's fine. And after the thing, they were like, give us your PO box so we can send you one. And I was like, first off, I'm like a nobody. I don't have a fucking PO box. Second off, they weren't in the States, and I was like, no, you're very sweet, but I'm not gonna make you pay international fees.
They pay $50 to get you a t-shirt.
Shirt. I was like, no, thank you so much. You're both amazing, but it's just a joke. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it turns out that they were trying to give you COVID, dude. They brought it up in the interview. They were like planting the seeds. They like coughed on the shirt. Yeah. They're like,
it's okay. You know? I got the vaccine, man. I could lick all the doorknobs I want. Fucking.
That's so true.
Fucking strangers. I go up, I just kiss them. I'm like, mwah, fuck you, and then I walk away.
You're fucking superhuman, bro.
It's true.
You're just like. Do you have telekinesis? Have you seen that video of the guy who gets all, it's like all 6 different vaccines and then he gains telekinesis?
Yes. Dude, I love those videos. Oh, man, they're so good.
They're awesome.
That is not something I have. But I have my second dose.
Do you stare? Have you tried it yet?
I guess I haven't tried it. You're right. I might be able to do it.
Yeah.
But I'll wait.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, apparently, you know, like at any given time, you only use like 70% of your brain or whatever. Maybe you just unlock an additional, additional 5% you just haven't tried yet. Like, you know, never know unless you try. Just jump off a high place. Maybe you can fly. We don't know. Like, maybe you have gills and you just haven't noticed yet. That would be so gross, by the way. I would straight up just want to die. I'm going to be honest. Like, the deep in the boys, I would just want to die. So, please check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring. Actually, an easy way to get all of our links, just go to thepodnot.com. It's
new website,
fairly easy if you understand how to spell Podnot, which I understand is a little weird. It's just PODNAUT. Not actually that hard. It's like podcast, but astronaut.
You know what's funny is we consistently do this to ourselves, where we're like, Indie Incursion. What does it mean? I don't know. Now we're talking about the Podnot. Like, we make it so hard for people to follow us.
See, I don't think the Podnot is actually that hard, because it's like, unless you tried to spell it like a knot, like you for some reason, or PODNOT, like, as long as you understand the idea of it's a podcast mascot of an astronaut, then you get it.
I don't know
then
that a lot.
Fairly easy.
I'm not even sure our listener, like our like hardcore listeners, know about Podnot.
You might be right.
Like we talk about it very infrequently, and we're like, yeah, that's the mascot, but it's like people probably don't know that.
That's a good point. So the easiest way to find all of our links and everything over on our website, thepodnot.com. We've got links to our merch. We have links to where you can leave us reviews, to our YouTube channel, to our Spotify, our Patreon, our merch, everything on there. Check them out. I even want to do, it's initially the concept of the website was that I wanted to make like an indie games focused website, but I do not have enough time to actually run a website. I was told that multiple times before, but I didn't listen. Nope. I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I realized I'm not going to do it. I don't have the time.
No.
So instead I was like, I'll make an IndiePod website, make everything nice and easy, but I still want a couple of things that I think that we can do well with this website. And of course, I have a section for the indie games of the month that I will be changing up each month. There are indie games that I want to shout out. Right now, they're kind of boilerplate. Like I've got like Hollow Knight Silksong on there right now, but there are a few that I want people to make sure they check out, which is like No Place for the Brave, which is very, very cool, and Neon White, which we talked about a while ago. But those will be changing every month. That's awesome. Those will be changing every month, and if there is a game that you would like to see on the Indies of the Month, be sure to join our Discord. Another, just click on the Discord button on our website, and you could join it. Join our Discord. Let me know what Indie Games of the Month that you would like to shout out for June, I guess, because technically we're in a different month. So what you would like to shout out for June, let me know. I'll put it on there. And of course, the website's going to change a little bit over the years and such as everything goes. So please leave me some constructive criticism in our Discord, and I will. I'll make some changes. Please check out our YouTube channel. Once again, easily found on our website, but also just IndiePod over on YouTube. Subscribe for these video episodes, and Josh has got some great reviews up there. During this summer, I plan, because I work part-time since I'm in school, and since I don't have school this summer, I plan on possibly making some video essays, but also continuing the demo impression series, because I thought that was really fun. It's just nice little easy to consume bits of content, so that was a lot of fun. But please subscribe over on YouTube. Leave us reviews on iTunes. It's supposed to help us gain a larger audience. I don't know if that's actually true. It's being straight up with everybody. I don't fucking know. I don't know if that's real. I've just been told so. Yep. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons. John, can't call him anything else. That's all I get. We'll see. Mixomatosis, aka Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Imp of Australia, Chris Penwell, always drinking tea, Josh Nichols, aka Active Josh. Also, congratulations to Josh Nichols, Active Josh. He just actually quit his job to do full-time freelance for the games industry. super awesome. Yeah. That's fucking sweet. Congratulate him over on Twitter. He's awesome. If you know of any opportunities for writing, hit him or Chris or Joseph up. They're all amazing. Once again, that is Joseph Yaden, Chris Penwell, and Josh Nichols from ActiveQuest. They're all awesome. Check out ActiveQuest. It's great. And lastly, thank you so much to Sam Fillion from Canada. You're all amazing. Those are all of our patrons at the $3 tier or higher, but all of our patrons are amazing. Anybody who listens is amazing. And let's talk about some amazing indie games. Josh, you are playing a game called Second Extinction from Systemic Reaction. Are you playing this on Xbox Game Pass?
I am. Yep.
I saw that it was like recently added to it.
Yeah. It is both for PC and Xbox. I believe it is also crossplay. But I just picked it up on the Xbox because I wanted another game to just play on my Xbox, and it was super easy because I'm playing. It's interesting because it's one of the games where it's only 3 players. Like, it's a 3-person game, which anytime I see that, I'm always like, it's such a strange number. Like, it's always 4. Like, why 3?
I mean, you think it's weird, but like often enough when I go to play games, I don't have 4. Like, it's me and 2 friends. I don't actually have that many friends.
It's tough. I mean, it's only
like 4 is the weird number.
It's always, I disagree, but it's always going to get harder because
of course popular people
I'm not, but dude, I am losing friends by the second. Like, I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, I don't talk to anyone anymore. Like, the pandemic did not help, obviously, but like, Jesus, I rarely talk to like anyone now. And it's like, you'll look at like my old Facebook that I never go on again, but if I looked at like my friend count, it'd be like 200 people, and like I know all those people, and most of them were from like either my high school or my past. But like, if you were like, oh, $50 to be able to see, like, to tell me what they're doing right now in their life, and I'd be like, I don't fucking know because I haven't talked to them in years. Like,
yeah, that's a fair point.
Anyway, point is, 3-person game. It's all about fighting dinosaurs, which, funny enough, I've been so caught up on playing games like Left 4 Dead and a bunch of other zombie games, I for some reason can't stop calling them zombies. I don't know why, but they're dinosaurs. You're basically fighting a ton of raptors, and then they have special monsters, which are either like a Stegosaurus or a T-Rex or like a bunch of other just bigger dinosaurs that'll fight you, and you have to be like, oh, there's a special thing, like you can't fight them in the face because they've got a giant metal plate on them, because that's how Triceratops is, I guess. I don't know. So you got to shoot him in the butt. Things like,
he got a big skull.
Yeah, he's got a big skull. Can't shoot that. But it's got, I think it was 5 or 6 characters you can choose from. Each of them all have their own special like loadouts as far as their abilities. Each class will have certain guns that they can carry. I'm playing this one character who is just this big beefy black lady who's just like got a minigun, and she's super tanky and she could heal everyone, and I fucking love it. Like, she's really good. But each one has their own unique different abilities and different types of things that they can do, which I really enjoy, to make it a little bit of unique, because the way the game works is you kind of like as if, you know, with like Fortnite, you have a map that you launch down into, and there's like these points that you can fly down to start at, and they're like the extraction points where you can then at the end of the mission call the ship down to pick you back up.
Yeah.
But you have a number of objectives on the map that you have to complete, and each of them have certain things that'll be like, oh, find these supply ships, or get this one beacon working, or there's drones in the air, shoot the drones down and collect the information from this world. I don't know too much about the story. There is a campaign that I'm playing through, but I really can't tell you like much of anything at this point, other than like, there's dinosaurs, gotta find out what's going on, because it's a little weird of a premise, and like this is like alpha or early access right now, so there's a lot of things that are kind of buggy with it, to be honest. This is one of those games where it's like, I think it has a lot of potential, but damn, is it not that good right now. Like, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but there's like, it's like this huge map that has these small objectives like kind of riddled throughout it, and there's like different areas with threat levels, so it would be like more dinosaurs and more different things that you can do that'll be tougher to fight. But you walk around and you're just like, this is just nothing. Like, it's so big for nothing, for nothing to happen. Like, there's a few events, right? But there's no like hidden items or like ammo stashed around. Like there's in a few places there is, but there's just a lot of like you walking around and literally you just be like, there's a hidden like cave here, but there's just nothing in it. Like, what am I doing? Kind of a thing. So it's definitely a world that feels massive, but very empty at the same time.
It's kind of like when you have buildings in video games so you can't go in.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. There's a lot
building?
of those. There's like these like they look like kind of like toll booths, and you would think there would be something you could do to interact or some kind of items in there. Maybe there's like unique weapons that only have a limited supply of ammo or whatnot. Like there's definitely ways that they can beef this up, but obviously this is alpha or early access, whatever it is. So it's not official yet, but like it's and it definitely is a little bit buggy in that like we had it happen to us once where we glitched out of an objective because we died halfway through, and you can like respawn, but it just glitched out and wouldn't let us finish the mission.
That sucks.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, every time he dies, he has to restart the game client because it just crashes his game, which is super weird. I don't know why. So it's like there's a lot of little things like that. It's very much an early access game, but I will say that it is fun, and if you have Game Pass, I'd recommend picking it up because it feels like a game similar to something like a Left 4 Dead, where there's a number of those minions that will kind of spawn, and you have certain objectives that you have to do. You have these bigger bosses that will show up every so often. A T-Rex is incredibly scary to fight because they are just huge. Like the only reason I think my friend and I got through it was because we kind of cheated. There was like this hangar.
Boom, dude, the cheese.
Dude, the cheese.
You gotta go for the cheese.
Dude, and we didn't even like we didn't anticipate the cheese like this, but we were in this hangar and there's ways where you can go underneath into like these underground tunnels. And so we went into one through that, didn't open the hangar door, and we're like looking around and there's like a mission, and we were going to open the hangar door, and all of a sudden a T-Rex head clips through the door, and we're like, oh fuck, and we just start shooting it until it dies while its like head is there trying to like chomp at us. There's like a T-Rex, and then all of a sudden a Triceratops showed up right underneath him trying to glitch its way in, and we're like, why are all these dinosaurs here? Fight each other. And so we opened the hangar door and then ran into the tunnel, and the T-Rex is too big, so it was just like shooting like these venom balls at us, and we're like dodging and shooting him in the tunnel, and he's like too fat to move. It's the only reason we won. But still, like I don't know, it's fun. It's just, it definitely needs work.
Dude, I'm an all's fair in love and war kind of a gamer, dude. If I will do anything to get me through something, I will use I'll use potions. I will clip around rocks. Like, I don't give a shit. Yeah. Anything to win, big boy. It's what you gotta do, you know?
Yeah.
It's what you gotta do.
Gotta be resourceful.
Okay. I'm glad that you played this game, because I have been looking at it for a long time, but never, like, I feel like it might just be my lack of interest to really look deep enough into it to understand it, because every time I look at this game and I've seen like little clips of people playing, I've been like, I do not know what this is. I was under the impression that this was an entirely different game. I was like, what is this, like Ark, but you get guns early? Like, no. What is this all about? But you describing it as more of a game like a Left 4 Dead makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's very mission based.
So essentially, yeah, so seemingly you just go into like missions, you have a couple objectives, and you have to kill a bunch of dinosaurs all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just like large dinosaurs, special ones show up, just like special zombies would show up. It's like the same concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes it so much easier, because I never understood it. Yeah. Like, seriously, I did not get it. I was like, what the fuck is Second Extinction?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
And
but that's actually kind of nice, because I'm a big fan of dinosaurs.
It's a fun game, and it's kind of cool because as you kill a bunch of those dinosaurs, they'll drop like body parts or random things about the dinosaurs that you pick up, and you use that and those raw materials to upgrade your weapons that you get. And so you have like a ton of different skill trees that you could upgrade for your weapons. And I think as you level up, you'll start to get these things called contracts, and other just like features that you can play into the game that kind of build that longevity of it. There's also a mode where it's not campaign that we tried at first. I actually played with John, one of the patrons, where you can just John. No, we were actually playing with someone else. It wasn't just John. But we were playing in this, I forget what it's called. I think it's just like explorer mode or something like that, where you literally just drop and you could just walk around the map and just do like random objectives. And so that's how we started, which I wouldn't recommend because we had no real format or like mission, so to speak. We were just running around and we're like, oh, let's do this. We just kept looking for the biggest dinosaur to fight and kill, which was admittedly fun, but
cool.
There wasn't like a real objective to it. After like an hour and a half of playing, we were just like, okay, I guess we're done, kind of a thing.
All right. Yeah, the game seems really interesting, especially since it's on Xbox Game Pass. I'll probably end up checking it out sometime soon. Granted, okay, so what is your idea? So like I've said, I want to foray into video essays because I've been watching a lot of them. And recently I have watched a couple video essays on like kind of the art of early access and also being an early access, like critiquing early access. What is your opinion of critiquing an early access game? Are you one who more heavily leans into why am I? Because it seems like a lot of the community is like, why are you judging a game that's not complete? Or something I saw brought up by an early access content creator was that no, early access is the time in which you are supposed to judge a game and give legitimate criticism because it's when the most development happens.
Yeah.
Like it's still coming along. So how do you like break this down? Like how do you feel about critiquing early access
this is a really good question, and as a person who plays a lot of early access games, I think it's pretty important to understand the way that I critique it, where I say things like it's very buggy or we had these connection issues, and I kind of gloss over them because they're not important. They're not important if this was a full-fledged game and this was like their 1.0 release. If this had come out, it was like the full game. It was like, we are good to go. We might never touch it again. Then I'd be like, there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things. But like my big piece to it that I mentioned is that it feels very empty. Like it's this huge map. There's not a lot really going on. There needs to be more. There needs to be more than just those few mini objectives, and there needs to be more variety in it. Like things like that are pieces that need to be said. There's also the idea that I could have talked about the differences between guns, and I'm not going to go that far deep into this just because of the nature of this podcast, but like the difference between the weapons and like balancing, like changing your weapons, going from my minigun to my pistol, which is like my secondary gun, takes forever to take out. It's one of those things where like my buddy and I were talking about this, it feels almost useless to even do that. Whereas the melee, because you could basically punch dinosaurs with your gun, is so powerful that half the time I'd rather not just reload and just run up and punch things, because you can like 1 KO most of the normal dinosaurs by just bopping them in the head. So it's like, so things like that are balance issues, or things like needing more content in XYZ place, or just general things that don't feel or gel right with a person, are the kind of things that early access is there so that it can put that into place. It can make the game more fun. It can add different modes. It can retract certain modes. And that's kind of why people need to critique it or need to talk about it. Like in our case, I don't think of it as much as we're pushing it in the same way that early access is looking, right? Like they might, the people who are working on the game might listen to the podcast and be like, oh, that's a great point, we should do XYZ, whatever. But like mostly they're looking for other people who are in that community playing a lot more than I am, because I only put in a couple hours. I might put in a couple more hours here and there, but like I'm not going to religiously play this as some people might if they're really into it and want to be a part of the community. They're really looking for that person just to kind of make the game the best that it can be. But I think early access, if you have a team that is developing it in a way that is very much true to what early access should be, and that's take Gunfire. I talk about how I love Gunfire Reborn all the time. That game is so good with early access because they are constantly doing stuff. They're always doing improvements. They're always doing balance changes. They're always doing new content. Like they have a full roadmap that shows you what's coming next and what's going to happen. Like that is the way to do it. And they're taking the feedback from people when the new character that came out was just totally busted. They were like, okay, we hear you. And they started tweaking it. When they created a new boss that came out that basically has a move that you have to dash out of. Like if it catches you, you can only dash out. Otherwise you just sit there and die. they took that into consideration because there was a scroll, this relic that makes it so you cannot dash. And they were like, all right, we hear you. They changed that.
So you just
you would just fuck yourself. Yeah, you would just die. So they changed the relic and they were like, okay, we just made the dash an insane cooldown as opposed to never being able to dash. So at least you can do it if you get caught, kind of a thing. Like, those are the reasons why early access is there. Is so as they're adding new content and as they're adding, the different pieces, they can improve the game so that when it does fully release, it can be ready for those who don't have the time to sit there and be like, oh, this is kind of buggy. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's all just a perfection period. Like, it's time for polish in early access.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of going into an early access game, not withholding all criticism, but kind of like suspending disbelief, where you're just like, okay, I have to take a little bit, like, everything should be taken with a little bit of salt because it isn't finished, but also these are my critiques. Like, it's kind of constructive criticism versus legitimate, like, kind of like break your shit apart criticism, where like when a game comes out in 1.0 and you shit on a game, that is not like, I mean, that's me like shitting on a game, not constructive criticism. It's just shit. Versus in early access, I feel like you can actually have constructive criticism, or like, I mean, at least keep it to constructive criticism.
You can have it both. Like, here's the thing, if you want to get down to me playing this game and what I think about it, like, so you should take it at face value that playing this early access game, like, what you're really trying to accomplish is this game fun? Is it worth it? Is there that potential? And like, yes, there is. Are there bugs and are there issues with it? For sure, 100%. This game is not like ready to just be like the perfect game. Like, it's definitely got issues, but is shooting a bunch of raptors in the face with a minigun and a shotgun satisfying? You bet your fucking ass. Like, it's great. So is there potential for this to be an amazing game? Yes. Is it fun? Yes. Are there problems? Yes. That's what it is.
Okay. Great way to sum it up. So for me this week, I've also actually been playing a game that is over on Xbox Game Pass. I know it's on PC. I'm not sure if it is on the console, but I'm fairly certain it is.
I think it is.
So I've been playing Narita Boy by Studio Koba. So the idea of this game is it's an action 2D platformer, or just an action platformer, in which you are sucked into a very Tron-esque world where it's a world that exists within a mainframe, like a video game. And there are, like, all of the programs are actually alive. They're sentient programs, and it is sectioned into, like, multiple kingdoms. But, of course, there has to be an antagonist. There has to be a Q. If you're talking about, like, Tron Legacy, I believe the villain's name is Q. Because I've never seen the original Tron. But Tron Legacy was very cool. I will fucking die on that hill.
All right.
It's, and you play the Narita Boy, who is the savior of this, like, supposed kind of like new wasteland, I guess, because the antagonist has essentially wiped the creator's memory, and nobody knows how exactly they did it, but they wiped the creator's memory, so you are going throughout the system to try to keep this antagonist from essentially decimating the system, but also to get the creator's memories, because they're just randomly placed throughout this system, to gain them and give the creator back their memories so that they remember that they need to update the system, that they need to actually keep things going. It's very weird, but I really, really like it. The weird pseudo isekai of game, or like the storyline, I think is very, very cool. I've been very vocal about how I want to get isekai into a death game, and I just think the idea of this is really cool, where seemingly the protagonist, because you don't know much about him, is this like young boy who is obsessed with this video game, and then one day he just gets sucked into it, and it turns out he's this prophesized hero, and you have to go through and you gain this sword that essentially has the ability to delete hostile programs for the most part, because it's made out of these multiple different beams of data, these different colored beams of data. So it's like a rainbow sword, which is actually really weird and cool. And I really like the idea of it. You're going through this system and you are interacting with a bunch of different characters and programs that are weird and eclectic. Like you will come across things like a stag master that requires you to become or gain an animal form before you go through their domain, which is a little weird, because it's meant to be this like holy forest that, other than that like stag master or that grandmaster of this, sorry about that, whack my mic, other than this grandmaster of this like area, humans are not, or at least programs other than animal form are not allowed. So you have to go through this area and find a way to get an animal form, so then you turn into a stag, you go through it. That is actually one of my big critiques, though, is that I love the way that you interact with a lot of these characters and the things that you are like that you have to accomplish. Every time you enter an area, you have a very specific goal you're working toward, and you actually understand why you're working toward it. It's not like it's not ineffable in any way. You're like, okay, I have to get a key so that I can get into this door, so that I can gain an ability, so that I can move on to the next area. It's very cut and dry, which is actually like, you might think that sounds kind of boring because it doesn't, like the actual, I guess, moment to moment gameplay doesn't have a massive amount of depth. I'm not talking about combat. I'm talking about what you're supposed to be doing in quests. Doesn't have a lot of depth, but that's actually really nice because the lore of this world is so weirdly complicated that I'm glad that it's not just trying to shove it down my throat every chance it gets, where it's just like, oh, you must become this monochromatic being to like all sorts of weird shit. It's like, I don't want that. Like, I love this story, and I love how weird it is, and I guarantee you I will finish this game and not fucking understand what just happened, and I will have to actually look shit up, and I will have to do research into it, and I'm very much looking forward to that point. But I'm glad that, like, I can appreciate the game while playing without having to know what's happening. Like, but there are issues where, like, at times it seems like some things that I'm doing actually have no point to them. So, like, specifically what I'm talking about is it very much built up this, like, gaining an animal form moment, because it's like, okay, to move to the next area, you have to gain an animal form. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe this will be like, it kind of built it up as like a power up. And I was like, oh, that'll be a cool power up. Like that'd be awesome. And I'll get to see what like animal form I take as the Narita boy. Like it'll be really interesting, and there's probably some symbolism in that. And you go around and you gain these different keys, you solve a bunch of different puzzles. It takes like upwards of like 20 to 40 minutes to actually gain this animal form. And then I get it, and I just literally, I'm not even joking, all you do in this animal form, the only time you get to use it so far is I walk from one side of the screen to the next. That's it. And then I walk from one side of the screen to the next. And then the Grandmaster, the Stag Master, comes out and is like, okay, you've gone through my domain, which is literally, I'm not even joking, one side of my computer monitor to the other. That's it. Twice. And after that, you've gone through my domain. You no longer need this animal form. You can continue on as a human. But it turns out you got to fight this boss, which is weird because like each boss has been actually like this is also something that they don't do well, is that most of the time when you enter like a new world or a new level in a game, they build up to the boss encounter. Like you might see them a few times, or you hear about them, or there's just any amount of information scattered amongst this world about a boss. Like that happens quite often. But in this game, instead, it's just like I go through an entire area and hear literally nothing about a boss. And then right at the end of it, before I can accomplish what I need to, they're like, oh, this portal magically appeared. Will you go find out what's up with it? And then I'm like, yeah, I guess Like, I'll do that. You go through the portal, it's a boss. You kill it, they're like, thank you, they've been terrorizing us for a while. And I'm like, what are you... They're like, no fucking... Nobody knows about this person in this place. Nobody's fucking said shit about them. And you're gonna tell me that they've been terrorizing you? What? In what world? Like, it's just so weird to me. So, there are a few issues with this game where it kind of feels like you build up to these kind of mediocre moments, and at times, like, they just throw things at you with zero exposition as to why it's happening. But I do actually really, really enjoy it. I think from a gameplay standpoint, it is a lot of fun. Using your, like, beam sword, it has, since it is in this, like, weird kind of, like, digital landscape, they play around with it a lot because it's kind of like anything can happen. It's a very, like, I guess, soft magic system where, like, your sword can also become a beam, can also become a gun, where, like, if you have a certain amount of, like, they're kind of like cells, but they just charge over time. So, like, if you click RT, because I use a 360 controller, if you click RT, you use a shotgun ability that just blasts the person in front of you and does a lot of damage. But if you have 3 cells and you hold it down, then you will stab yourself in the face with your beam katana or, like, your beam sword, and then a huge beam of light will leak out and destroy all your enemies in front of you, which is really, really cool. And it constantly adds new abilities to your moveset. Just seriously, it happens so often where it's like, okay, you've got an uppercut, you've got a dash, you've got a shoulder charge. Like, every time I go into a new area, I will generally get 1 to 2 new abilities, which seems like it might get overwhelming, but it's not, because each time I move into new areas, there are also new enemies that require these new abilities. So it actually kind of feels like it's a nice back and forth. And I actually like exploring for that very reason, because I gain new abilities, I can fight new enemies, and it's just a lot of fun. I think Narita Boy is an extremely fun game. And there is one section, like, the ambiance in the game is fucking so weird and so fantastic at the same time, where it's like got some of just this amazing synthwave music that's very reminiscent of, like I said, like a Tron Legacy.
Right.
But it's very low in the background most of the time until these, like, I guess what would be climactic moments, and then the game just busts out this really weird shit where your Narita Boy just dances in place, like disco dances in place, and it like, yeah, the music comes to the forefront and then it's just gone, which is like, it's just such a weird bit of personality that I like a lot, but also wish it happened more often. I feel like most of my issues with this game just kind of have to do with things being thrust upon you with zero buildup. And all I want is the buildup. Like, and then when the thing that sucks is when the buildup actually happens, then the payoff is so lackluster. Like, I get bosses thrust upon me. I get, the first boss is like this VHS dude, and he was super easy to kill. But he literally came, like, I solved like 4 puzzles, and then it's just like, there's a portal. I'll give you this key if you kill what's inside that portal, or you solve what's inside that portal. I go in, kill the boss, pop out of the portal, she's like, here's the key. Like, kind of a deal. And it happened several times. The next boss, the exact same way. I just had to, this guy was like, while I render your animal form, there's a portal. It's like, go through it and find out what's up. I go through, there's a boss for some reason that's like fucking, I think it's called like glaucoma, and it's just this weird, I'm not even joking, like a balloon filled with flesh. Ugh. It's so gross. And you just have to fight it. It's a super fun fight. I enjoyed it. And then when I get out of it, it's like, here's your animal form, walk from side to screen to side to screen, whatever. But then, like, after, so it has zero buildup for any of these bosses, and then, like, I'm told by this stag master that this, like, I'm finally getting build up to a boss. This person finally tells me about a boss. They're like, yes, there is this, like, what was the boss's name? It's called, like, the Dark Rainbow. Yeah, Black Rainbow is what the boss is called. And they're like, it is this terrible being where normally creatures are created in like base code. This creature's base code is like horror. So it's just like it's way out of like everything has kind of like a uniformity to it where everything looks like Upgrade from Ben 10 but red instead of green. Okay. Whereas the Black Rainbow is like it's horror. It's like this really grotesque being, and I was like, oh man. And they're like they've been pursuing you, which literally zero. I've seen zero of this. Like they're just like they've been following you. They've been trying to track you down because they're starting to fuck shit up. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll believe it. Like this will be a cool boss to work toward. And I'm thinking in the next area, it's finally giving me the little bit of build up, and I will slowly see them throughout this area, and then I will fight them. Do you know what happens? I fight them literally 5 seconds later.
Well, hot damn.
Not even joking. They're like, yeah, the Black Rainbow's been following you. I walk to the other side of the screen, and it's like,
I've been like, following you.
Yeah. It's a really cool fight. Like, it was a really fun fight, but I feel like just so often it tries to make it seem like you are being pursued or like you are fighting against these warlords, but they just don't even show up until the end of each level and with zero fanfare. Like literally zero. They don't, it's so boring. It's so weird and so boring at the same time. I don't know. I like it a lot. I think Narita Boy is a super fun game. There's also these sections I haven't talked about where you go into the creator's memories, and they're completely different because you actually go into like what would be, you leave this like technological landscape, this code-based landscape, and you go into this like old Japanese aesthetic, and it's all kind of like black and white. You go through it, has this really nice song. I don't know what instrument is played on. I think it's played on a mandolin, but I'm not exactly sure. And it's very soft. It's very heartwarming. You get to learn about the creator's past. I really, really love it. And in this landscape, like you are supposed to unlock like 12 different memories, and each one is like you enter this, I would say like a hub world in a sense, but it's just from side to side. It's not like Mario World or anything like that, where there are these like different little shacks, and each time you unlock a memory, it lights up this lantern in front of it. So you go to that one, you go through, you come out, but there's just this weird symbolism in the background of this gigantic baby, and it's so weird. Like, I think it's the art of this game and the world of this game is so awesome, and the moment-to-moment gameplay, the actual combat is so much fun. But I think this game's biggest weakness so far is the actual build-up to what should be monumentous, like awesome boss battles. Instead, they're just thrust upon you. Like, they're just like, fuck it, here's a boss, you just fight him. And it kind of sucks, but I think it's a lot of fun. I think everybody, also, game gives me massive fucking headaches. Not even joking. Like, it has a lot of, like, flashing colors, so if you are an epileptic or you may be susceptible to seizures, would not recommend this game. Do not even look at it. Don't fuck with it. But seriously, just the standard, like me playing, I can probably only play for like an hour consistently, and then it gives me like a blistering headache.
Damn. I can't believe you didn't start with that.
Yeah, I guess rough. I kind of buried the lead on that one.
Yeah, that's rough. Because I was just I was just looking at it, and I was like, this looks fucking crazy. I feel like it would be a good game for me. But like, I have a lot of weird hiccups with getting like sick from playing games. I don't know if it would do that to me, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it won't. Like, it's possible. Maybe I just didn't drink enough water or something. But I've tried to play it. I've played it in multiple different sittings, and like 3 or 4 different sittings, and each time I got a headache. So, and I was like, I was wearing my blue light glasses, Big Josh boy. Like, wasn't the blue light? You know what I mean?
Come on.
Like, it's not the government trying to hack into my brain. Like, it's, I don't know. It's freaking the game.
I don't know. Not cool. Not cool.
But it is fun. Anybody with like Game Pass who is fairly certain they're not going to have a seizure, and enjoys 2D action platformers, I would definitely recommend it. The combat itself is fun enough to where even if you don't want to interact with the story or anything like that, the boss battles are really fun. Granted, first boss, super easy. Second boss, once you figure it out, pretty easy. The Black Rainbow was a big change where it had multiple different patterns of attacks, and I thought that they were really fun. And then it has just like a massive variety of enemies. Like you'll fight, there are these like zombie-esque enemies, which are just kind of boilerplate enemies, but then there are like warlocks, there are dudes with shields, there are like gunners that then explode. There's this one weird enemy that spawns like little babies that explode, but if you get too close to it and hit it too many times, then it'll punch you. It's a very weird and I would say robust enemy set, but also things are just like thrown at you just randomly. They're just like, whatever.
What are you gonna do?
Like it. Yeah. It almost feels like nothing has gravity, even though that they'll like say that something is really important, but since there's zero buildup, it's like there's almost no payoff.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, this guy's been a menace to us, and then you go in, you're like, I've never fucking heard of you, other than like 5 seconds ago. Nobody said shit. It's weird. But check out Narita Boy, once again by Studio Koba. It's fun. It got an 8 from IGN Italy, which they have that like they have that on the like Steam page or whatever.
So
I
weird.
think it's like the funniest
That's so weird because they got a 6 from IGN US.
I know. I think it's so funny, the like different the different like IGN has multiple offices, and sometimes they'll give multiple different reviews, and it's just the funniest fucking shit, dude.
That seems super weird. I mean, it's a good way to average it, right? Like the whole point of reviews is that people have differing opinions. It's like, okay, this person gave it an 8, the other person gave it a 6. Maybe it's in a 7 range. Maybe, some people like it, some people won't. It's tough, man. Reviews that just get a score, because like, and I do it too, honestly. Like, and I hate that I do it. Then I'll look up a game review and I'll be like, what's the score though? Like before I even look at the review, like I'll scroll to the end of the article or scroll to the end of the video to be like, oh, it's an 8. All right, let me see what it's all about. Or like if it's like a crazy low score, I'll be like, maybe I don't care, which is like bad, but you can't like, I don't know. It's impossible, dude. It's so rough to just be like, yes, this game is equated to a 6 when it could be.
Most of the time it'll be a thing where it's like, I'm trying to think of how I interact with review scores, I guess, because most places actually are kind of moving away from review scores, which I think is cool.
Which I get upset. I get upset because I'm like, fuck, give me the score so I know quickly what it is.
Yeah. Most of the time I only actually watch reviews about games I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, I go out on a limb on so many games and I just get burnt. But like Outriders, I was almost 100% sure I'd like it. So I didn't look up any scores, or I did check a score and I saw that it was like, got like a 7 or a 6 or whatever. And I was like, fuck it. I'll buy it anyway. Like, I don't know. Review scores are weird. I
agree.
Yeah. I'm glad that most people don't have them, but also, it's that nice little payoff where you're just like, well, now I don't know if a game's good.
The struggle. All right, we should probably talk about the news.
On to our first news story, which is over on IGN. It is written by Joe Screbbles, and it is incredible time loop adventure Outer Wilds. Once again, Outer Wilds, not Outer Worlds. Just letting everybody know. Outer Wilds could be getting DLC. Outer Wilds, a magnificent time looping adventure game, could be getting DLC titled Echoes of the Eye, if a Steam database entry is anything to go by. As pointed out by Simon Careless on Twitter, SteamDB has scraped an entry from Outer Wilds Echoes of the Eye, which is listed with Outer Wilds as its parent entry, that points to this being DLC or an expansion rather than a full sequel. The entry was last updated today, April 29th. Obviously, this is a little bit of an older article, meaning that there's a chance we'll see a formal reveal soon. Although not a formal confirmation, both publisher Annapurna Interactive and developer Mobius Digital have playfully responded to Careless's tweet, which they just quote tweeted with eye emojis, which I think is really cute. So the Eye is a major location in Outer Wilds, which implies we could be seeing a return to the game's constantly resetting solar system, although those who have finished the game will know that's a potentially complicated idea. I have yet to finish the Outer Wilds, but Big Josh Boy, I don't think you ever actually checked it out.
Never tried it.
Like, I guess DLC enough to get you into it?
Not really. This is a game that I really want to play, but I never really have enough time to feel like I'd give it. Like, this is one of those games that I've heard and seen that is you have to kind of really invest and immerse yourself in the world and the environment and really learn all the mechanics and try to like deduce what's the optimal way to go and keep trying it. And it's one of those games where I'm very interested in it, but I don't know, I just never pick it up. I don't think DLC would do anything for me personally. I think there's probably a lot of people who would be excited because this was one of those very much indie gems, kind of cult classic in a way, because I feel like it's still under the radar, but there's those people who played it that will just like sing immense praise for it. But for me, still not really doing anything. And like at this point, I don't have an excuse because I don't think it's on PC, but it's on console for Game Pass. So
is it?
Yeah, so I should, at least I'm pretty damn sure. Let me see.
I would definitely check it out then. I mean, if it is, it's a very interesting game. I remember playing it for our Indie Game of the Year last year,
right,
and I thought it was a lot of fun, but also I am of the mind that it is one of the greatest horror games ever made. Just saying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like horror, but seriously, there's some scary ass shit in that game that I do not hear enough people talk about. Like, the idea of just aimlessly drifting in space until you run out of air is so fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But nobody brings it up. And I'm just like, bruh. Am I just a bitch here, or does no one else care? Like,
no. You're I mean, well, yeah, a little bit of both.
I am. It's a bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yeah. So Outer Wilds is not available for PC, but it's available. Can't speak. Available for console? Game Pass Ultimate. So I think it's like cloud version and console. So what I'm basically saying is I don't have an excuse. I'm just being lazy and not getting into it.
All right. Well, that's good for you, Big Josh Boy. I'm glad you at least notified everybody that you're just being lazy.
Like, oh, good. What's Josh playing again? Some dumb dinosaur game? This fucking guy.
He's fucking playing.
You play more Binding of Isaac, Josh? Is that all you do?
Well, that's...
You're right.
Once again, we're back to the conversation of, like, dude, things suck so badly that it's like, why even force yourself to play video games that you don't want to anymore?
So and here's the thing is, like, I don't want to bore people, because if you really were like, what's Josh playing this week? It'd be like, more Binding of Isaac and more Divinity. Well, bless you.
Man.
It is just, it's those two games because I fucking love them. Even though recently, dude, Binding of Isaac has been such a love-hate relationship.
That was lint, by the way. I picked a piece of lint off my arm, not a booger.
Oh, that's...
Just thought I'd let everybody know.
That's okay.
But go on about Binding of Isaac.
That's okay. You can pick your boogers all day. Just don't eat them. It's so hard, dude. It's just so hard. I like most of the characters I'm fine with, but there's certain characters like the Lost who you can only get hit twice in any room, and it's always like stupid shit that kills me, and I'm like, fuck, like 40 minutes go by and I just gotta start it all over again. But
welcome to my world, Big Josh Boy. Welcome
being bad at games.
Welcome to the world of being bad at video games.
Dude, once again, this is one of those things where I talk about how it's hard and how I get to a certain point, but like, I'm 100% sure you would get nowhere near where I'm getting in these levels.
Not even close. Not even close. Like I would die probably like 2 rooms in. You know what I mean? Like
you see Phil call me out
dead.
the other day.
What he called you out on? He say you're shit at video games because you can't play downhill.
I can't talk, dude. I can't play downhill. I was like, because I'm playing the levels and I'm getting through them, but I just don't like it, kind of a thing. I'm like struggling with them.
It's hard.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I thought you were supposed to be good at games, and I was like, fuck you.
I loved the whole like maybe I was saying the wrong host was bad at video games thing.
Yeah. Look, it's fine. We could both be bad.
Dude, downhill, I can't wait for us to do our book club on it because that game is like, it's probably the most relaxing game that pisses me off. Dude, like I'll hit the same rock like 8 times. I'm like, how does it even, in what? Oh, like it pisses me off so much sometimes.
I like it. Let's move on.
It's a lot of fun. So our next news article is over on Polygon. It's written by Cass Marshall, and it is Valheim players have created their own Thunderdome.
This is so cool.
So this is a weird article, I'll admit, because it's hard to explain. Essentially, Valheim doesn't have a real incentive to kill other players. Mm-hmm. Instead, it's mostly a PvE focused like survival craft game. But instead, the community has taken it upon themselves to make this like really high profile series of PvP matches. They stream them live over on Twitch, and it's called Vikings of Legend. They have, or at least one person has, created this Roman-style Colosseum in apparently Valheim's robust debug mode, which I don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. But they created this massive Colosseum in which people voluntarily go into and subject themselves to basically like dogfights, I would say, very similar to the Colosseum of old, where they will they have to both try to survive like environmental hazards. They will spawn in new weapons and animals like enemies to keep things on their toes. Like this is all very weird. I will admit though, like the description of it, like every match will begin by spawning participants into a giant arena as first level characters. It's a handmade Roman style Colosseum created with Valheim's robust debug mode. 2 teams of 2 to 4 Vikings maneuver around the arena trying to survive. Well, oh fuck! Oh. I just choked on my spit.
That sounded awful.
Oh,
oof, oof.
Yeah, it was terrible. Oof. I just killed myself.
We're gonna have to cut Vikings, the episode and take you to the hospital.
Jeez. Vikings maneuver around the arena trying to survive while also killing their opponents. It's a game mode that is in some ways a lot simpler and cruder than the base game. It's essentially just team deathmatch, but despite that, it's a fun twist on the usual Valheim formula and shows the game is becoming a platform for various modes and mods as players run out of developer-created content. So I love the idea of this community kind of filling the gap of content. Like there's there's not really an incentive for PvP, so we'll just make one. We'll make it fun. Like that's awesome.
Why not?
And all of this sounds really awesome, but did you watch it?
It looks kind of clunky.
It looks so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Dude. Like I watched granted maybe I'm not invested enough in the sport of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But watching it, it was so boring because he's like, oh, you got to watch out for the wolves. The wolves spawn in, the wolf just comes up and it's just like, meh, and kills this guy. And I was like, that was so bad.
You have to, yeah, we obviously don't have any appreciation for the game because neither of us play it. Yeah. And I feel like this would be more of one of those things where it's more interesting to be in the arena and play it as opposed to watching from an outsider's perspective. But damn, is this cool, man. Like I love when people do this kind of stuff. Like the idea of MOBAs, right? You know, Dota, League of Legends, like those were really just a mod for StarCraft back in the day. Like that's how it started, was someone just created a mod and then over time it developed into this. So I love that people are doing this because this could very well be the next game where these modders or someone sees this idea and it's like, you know what'd be fun is like a battle arena game where you're able to like throw in random things that happen and blah blah, like some kind of gladiator where I don't know, that idea just sounds cool in general, but they'd figure out something. But also I like the ingenuity because yeah, this is a game where it's very PvE focused, and there's obviously a lot of content in Valheim, but for those who just want more or something different, like, here you go. Plus it just keeps that community alive.
Yeah, that's the thing that I love the most, is like the idea that once they run out of developer made content, now it's just community keeping itself like afloat,
right?
While they're still like while they're
building.
waiting,
because this game is still early access, so like
yeah. Yeah, and the developers, like we've spoken on the podcast before about how they have like a roadmap for more content, like they're going to add more bosses, but essentially until then, they're just doing what they have right now, which is seemingly like they've got like 5 bosses, a bunch of different areas, but they... Like, it's not like we hear every week that Valheim has new content. Like, it's not like fucking Dead Cells, how somehow Evil Empire, like, every 2 weeks has got a new fucking update with a shitload of new stuff for that game. Like, it's just saying, Dead Cells is weird. It's a one-off. It's very odd. But
yes.
I think it's awesome. I think it's great that, like, the community takes it on themselves to make something. And once again, to prove your point, like... the fervor around battle royale games. Battle royale was created, of course there's the movie Battle Royale, but there is like, that was created as like an Arma 2 mod, or like H1Z1 was an Arma 2 mod, and King of the Kill was created by Player Unknown. Like they created their own game mode with other people that then turned into Player Unknown's Battleground, that then became everything else. Yeah. And it just blew up. So granted, there are games that have tried this before and failed, but I feel like the reason that this is somewhat succeeding now is because that's not the main gimmick of the game.
Right.
Like I feel like a game where you just like get plopped in and somebody kind of fucks with you for the entire game would just be kind of annoying. That's why Fable Legends, I was never excited about it, and it's like I don't care that it was canceled. But yeah, I feel like this, I don't know, this, it's kind of cool to think that like this battle royale, or not battle royale, this like Thunderdome type thing, because these people created it in early access, it might actually become a thing in the video game. Like, yeah, when it reaches its 1.0, like that would be so cool to be like, oh yeah, I was the person who actually created this game mode in this game before it ever came out. And it's like, I didn't get paid for it or anything, you know, but whatever. It was cool.
It started because of them.
I mean, you never know. Maybe they get hired. Like Wildcard Games, like hired a bunch of people that did mods and stuff like that for Ark. So I don't know. Super cool. I think it's awesome. Time to end these news stories off with kind of a bummer, but it was kind of interesting. So our last news story for today is over on The Gamer. It's written by Sean Murray, dude. Seemingly fucking Hello Games, No Man's Sky, not doing well enough. Sean Murray, he's over here. He's writing shit for for fucking The Gamer. Seriously though, it threw me off so hard the first time I saw the name Sean Murray. Obviously it's a different person, and I'm fairly certain it's a different spelling, but it threw me off so hard because like the first time I ever came to The Gamer as a website, I saw the name Sean Murray wrote an article about No Man's Sky, and I was like,
what are you doing here?
That seems like a conflict of interest.
You
big
self-promoting?
Boy. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah, but this is Game Dev sues Valve for anti-competitive practices on Steam.
Nuts.
This is something we've obviously talked about in the past, but it's very interesting. Valve has been criticized before about Steam's PC market dominance, but it looks like the criticism has reached a boiling point, at least for one indie game developer. Wolfire Games has filed a class action lawsuit against Valve on April 27th. According to GamesIndustry.biz, the suit was filed in U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington, along with 2 individuals, William Herbert and Daniel Escobar. Yeah, I think that's how you'd say that. I'm afraid to say Escobar because it's like Pablo Escobar. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm fairly certain that you'd pronounce that Escobar.
I'm sure it's fine.
Just saying. Wolfire has several games on Steam, including Overgrowth and Receiver 2. At issue is Valve's 30% take on every game sold, which Wolfire says is only possible because of Steam's market dominance. Steam has a 75% share of the US PC games market, according to the court filing, which is used to take an extraordinarily high cut from nearly every sale that passes through its store, 30%. The suit also specifically mentions Steam's key price parity provision, which is, I actually didn't know that this existed.
Neither did I, and this is nuts.
Yeah, this one's absurd, which prevents publishers from selling PC download keys cheaper on other platforms besides Steam. This price matching means that even if another platform takes a smaller cut of sales, like Epic with its 12% cut, these publishers aren't allowed to price their games cheaper on Epic, still sell them on Steam. Moreover, Valve explicitly instructs publishers that Valve enforces this provision to avoid a situation where customers get a worse offer on the Steam store. Put another way, Valve uses this restriction to prevent customers from getting a better deal anywhere other than the Steam store. The court docs explain, thus rival distributors have no meaningful way to attract publisher customers and take away shade from Valve, because their efforts to compete on pricing, e.g. by charging lower commissions. I'm like having a hard time reading, of course, like always.
That's okay.
Plus, I'm going to be honest, the whole time I've been talking, I'm like, this is how fucking just broken I am as a human being. The whole time I've been reading this, I've been thinking, man, my Mongolian barbecue had so much oil in it. Like, that's so gross. And I'm just like on the brink of throwing up in my mouth. I'm not even joking.
So dumb.
Charging lower commissions are blocked by Valve's price parity requirements. And then it goes on to says, like, say Valve has yet to respond to the allegations. Microsoft just recently reduced its revenue share to match Epic's 12%. And hopefully a lot of other people do this. Once again, this is written by Sean Murray. It's over on The Gamer. And something that I want to make sure that I do, head over to thepodnot.com if you would like to check out these articles easily. So I'm going to include the links for, at the very least, our main news stories in the like breakdown of our articles over on our website. I don't do it on YouTube because they have a pretty strict character, like a word limit in their descriptions, and that is easily filled with links, so like among all of our other stuff. So head over to thepodnot.com, or you could check it out over like IndiePod on Twitter. It is pinned on like just the website section of our Twitter, and you could check out the full links to these articles that we talked about, at least the main news stories. But Big Joshua, how do you feel about this one?
This is crazy. Is this price parity thing only with Epic? So the way this...
No, seemingly it's just any other store can't sell their games cheaper.
The way this was written, it sounds like it's only against Epic, but it does say this price matching means even if another platform takes a smaller cut of sales, which is weird because, like, I've seen other sites that have ridiculous prices, and it's usually those more off-brand ones. Do they just get away with it because they're, like, smaller? Like,
I mean... There are the few that are, I forget what the site was, but it often sold keys for like ridiculously low prices,
like
but
it
came out that they were stolen keys. And that's why they did.
Yeah, maybe
because they didn't actually. Yeah, like it's kind of weird. But no, I've also I purchased Outward on Humble Bundle because it was $10 cheaper than on Steam.
Right.
But I purchased it through Humble Bundle because they'd give me a Steam key. And I just used it on Steam anyway. Like, it was a very weird scenario. Yeah. And I don't know how exactly this works.
I guess Humble Bundle gets away with that because they're not really selling that one game specifically. It's usually like a bundle, and it's more of a...
Oh, no, I bought it on their store.
Oh, like just that one specifically, and it was cheaper than what it was on Steam? Then I don't understand. But I guess because it's from Steam, maybe it's still okay. Like, super weird. Super weird. That makes no sense to me. I think it's really crazy that they actually have such a stranglehold with that type of stipulation. Like, I've always been like, yeah, they clearly have a stranglehold because they've always been the PC gaming like ecosystem, right? But
that's who you go to buy your PC games.
But that right there is nuts, because there's no real incentive to go to others if that's the more popular one from like a publisher standpoint, right? One of the things that I don't think we mentioned, but what's interesting is like the Microsoft piece of this, that they just went to that 12%, which kind of goes against Steam for still being at 30, but it is hard to just, I guess like legally, it's hard to just be like, hey, Steam, you have to come down because everyone else is. Because I don't know that.
Well, I don't know. Seemingly, that's what they're trying to do in this class action lawsuit. Is at the very least, not saying that Steam has to come down on their market share, but that, like, seemingly the main focus of this lawsuit is that
the
like
that provision
price.
Exactly.
Where it's like, it completely takes away from all sorts of competition, and it's actually kind of weird. Like, before, you thought, like, at least for me, I thought Steam was kind of scummy that they took 30%, when I feel like often enough they do not do enough to earn 30%. But it's like, okay, people buy games from the Steam store because they are known for it. It's like, it's a whole thing. I didn't know that they were, it's kind of the difference between like thinking something is scummy because they take a larger market share, but it's like, okay, people are going to keep buying their games on Steam no matter what. Like, I was thinking that it was in the purchaser's hands, that it was in like the gamers' hands because they keep buying on Steam. But when you find out that Valve is specifically trying to like dissuade competition by saying you cannot sell your games cheaper on other platforms if you want to sell them on Steam, is so gross. Because it's like, we will completely cut you out of our market if you offend us in this way by like, it's, oh my God, it's like so weird. It's kind of like the whole like China situation where it's like the largest gaming market in the world and nobody wants to offend them because you just won't be allowed. Like, you'll lose so many sales.
It's like, it's what I said. It's a stranglehold. Like they know what they're doing. It's set up in a way where they can't be at a loss. And so really this lawsuit is actually pretty big, because that could be a make or break of, does Steam ever change their practices in a lot of ways. Like, I think it's an interesting article that we talked about, as opposed to the Microsoft one alone, of just being like an article saying like, hey, Microsoft put their points down. Like, it's no longer 30%, it's 12%, which is crazy cool. It's awesome. That's honestly another step in the right direction for Microsoft. But like, it's a different discussion, because when I had just seen that news and that notification, I was like, oh, I wonder if Steam is going to do anything. And now that I've seen this, I'm like, Steam's not going to do shit. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like there are a couple points. I'm wondering if the like Microsoft stuff is only on their like PC store, or if that's also on the store on their console. So like any sales made actually on their console, they actually take a smaller cut from.
I'd have to double check, but I want to say it's 12% all around.
Just across the board. That would be really cool. I would love that. I think that's amazing. Like, developers, I think they need a bigger share of their games, because I think often enough, once again, like, platform holders just don't do enough, especially when it comes to these places like Sony taking a large share, and it's like, your store is fucking asshole. Like, you don't do enough to charge them 30% kind of a thing. But there's also like, remember when Epic was purchasing exclusivity of games, and everyone hated it because it like hurt the market, and it seemed so scummy, and they were doing it on purpose.
Right.
Like, people were annoyed because they were doing it on purpose to keep it away from Steam.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't feel like enough people know about this whole price thing. Because it's like, they are purposely keeping this stranglehold. They're making sure that you like cannot buy games for cheaper on other stores. But I mean, ultimately that probably just means that there's sales across like all different platforms. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, it's $20 off here, then it's $20 off there and there and there,
right,
whatever. But also, I like the idea of just one store dramatically undercutting another, because like that will mean there's going to be a lot of purchases from that one.
Right, of course. But, yeah, whoever has the cheapest price, people are going to flock to.
Yeah, exactly. It's competition.
Yeah, which I mean, granted we should have, but there's a little bit of backdraw there because like, does that competition hurt the developers because prices keep getting low and lower and lower, and the developers get less and less money? Like there is a flip side to this of maybe that's not the right way to do it, and maybe that practice is kind of in sound place, even though it's not reasonable for the fact that obviously Valve will benefit from it, but is good in some cases if you think about it that way. And a quick update, it is only the PC front for Microsoft as far as the 13% cut. I don't know what it is from and like the actual console perspective.
I mean, still a step in the good direction, but it would be cool if they did it just like kind of system wide.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what their percentage is console wise. So like maybe it is 13%. Maybe it is something. Like,
maybe it's not 30%.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe it's lower.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that specifically they're changing how the PC works. There's no update on consoles.
Okay. Well, in any amount, I'm in a sense, it's weird because I hate that everyone's so sue happy nowadays, but I'm glad that this lawsuit is coming up, so maybe something will change with the market shares. But
I mean, it's the unfortunate language of companies, right? Is like that's how you get through to a company is tell them that you're going to take a lot of money from them, and then they'll listen.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So we have covered our news stories basically to the dryness. Like it's like a raisin. Before it was a delicious grape, we sucked it dry. So now it's time for us to hop into News Cram. News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of Indie Pod and Indie Games Podcast, cramming full of all sorts of indie game news. This week we have a couple quick news stories before, of course, we hop into a bunch of new stuff. Our first quick news story for today comes by way of IGN, where it's reported that YouTuber Nick Rawcliffe accomplished an amazing speedrun in which they killed all 5 of Valheim's bosses in under 30 minutes. I mean, I don't know how big of an accomplishment that was, but apparently it's a big deal. They now hold the record, which is very cool. It was like, I think in the article it said that's 40 minutes faster than anyone else has done.
Hot
and
dang.
They did also point that out that it was a lot of luck. Like that they lucked out. But still, very, very cool.
They did it.
And over on Nintendo Life, where it's reported that point-and-click adventure game The Dark Side Detective: A Fumble in the Dark by Spooky Doorway has been restored to its rightful place on the Nintendo eShop.
Yay!
Or in North America, because that's where it left last week. So.
Yay!
Exactly. Now on to new stuff. Our first 2 items in new stuff come by way of Nintendo Life, where it's reported that puzzle game Mom Hid My Game 2 by Hap Inc. is now available on the Nintendo Switch, and that puzzle platformer Out of Line by Nerd Monkeys is headed to the PC via Steam and the Nintendo Switch sometime later this year. Now over on IGN, where it's reported that Innersloth's popular deception game Among Us is headed to both PlayStations 4 and 5 sometime later this year, and will give players access to an exclusive Ratchet and Clank skin, hat, and pet, and that Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach has once again been delayed to sometime in late 2021, but players now have access to a new beat-em-up style game called Security Breach Fury's Rage over on the Game Jolt, or just Game Jolt, not the Game Jolt, just Game Jolt, to console them. So that's pretty cool. The footage from this beat-em-up game looks pretty interesting. And to round out the group over on GameSpot, it is reported that open universe exploration game No Man's Sky by Hello Games has received a new update that will mainly offers bug fixes, stability improvement, and some small tweaks to the UI. And lastly, that simulation game Let's Build a Zoo by Spring Loaded is headed to the PC sometime this summer, with the PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox releases slated for later this year. So, Big Josh Boy, we've been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it's time for us to get back to the creators in our next segment, God Bless the Crowd. This is where the biggest of average Josh Boys.
You forgot my name there?
Sorts for crowdfunding sites. No, I had like a hiccup in my throat and I had to swallow.
You were like, who's my co-host?
I had to breathe.
The illustrious who?
we're heading over to Kickstarter to check out a game called Unsung Warriors, a story-driven action platformer. Explore a fantasy Iron Age-inspired Europe with mythical handcrafted locations and ferocious enemies, playable solo and in couch co-op. The developers were looking for $18,029. They currently, at the time of this recording, have $24,070, so they're far past their goal. They have 560 backers with 22 days left to go, and the developers are known as Osiren and Mountaineer. And to get in on the ground floor and actually get the game, you do have to pledge $19. But still, this game does look pretty interesting. Be honest, though, in your memory, have we seen this game on Kickstarter before?
Yes. That's why I chose it.
Oh, okay. I was like, I swear to God, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, that's why I chose this.
Okay.
This is a initially failed Kickstarter game that tried it again and this time got it. So wanted to shout them out because I originally played the prologue to this game way back in the day. There's even like a video of me playing it that I don't know, is somewhere on YouTube. I don't even know. Somewhere on YouTube. It might be on the Parallax Media account. I don't fucking know.
Probably, yeah.
Anyway,
because I didn't make the IndiePod account until
way later, and I don't have it on a personal one, so who knows where it is. So the point is, it's a pretty fun game. It looks way too cutesy for me. Like it looks like a mobile game, which is in a way it sounds offensive, and in some ways it kind of is meant to be, but not really, because there are good mobile games. But like it looks very much like a game that you'd be like, they're gonna take my money. You know, like it's
gonna be microtransactions.
There's gonna be a lot of microtransactions, but it's not, at least not from what I could tell. And the actual gameplay of it is really good. Like it felt, at least from what I had played initially in the prologue a while back, it felt really clean. The actual buttons to it, mapping, and the mechanics to it felt awesome. I love the different weapons that you can get, the different skills, and like the ability to actually block a lot of the attacks, and that the environment around you will interact with these enemies. The fact that it is co-op seems really cool. Like I feel like this would be a fun game to just play with a buddy. I believe it's only couch co-op though, which is always
they say solo.
It's always an unfortunate thing, because you're like, damn, I don't have friends. But I think also with COVID times, it's also real tough. But granted, when this comes out, maybe that's not even a thing anymore. Who knows where the world is?
Yeah. Cross your fingers.
Cross my fucking fingers. God, I hope it's gone. Because I'm done with this shit. Anyway, but the game, honestly, it looks really nice. I love the art style to it as far as like the enemies and the worlds. Not really the skills and abilities, because it does feel very mobile game, like I said, and it's just not my style, sort of. But I also do enjoy the story, the environment that they're kind of picturing or like painting as far as this goes. $19 isn't a crazy ask. It is a little bit higher. And I think some people might be a little turned off by that because of like the cutesy look to it, and the fact that if it is mobile game, it seems kind of high, right? But I still think it's still worth it in a lot of ways if you're into this kind of combat and this kind of world. I don't know. It looks fun.
I'm kind of wondering what changed for them in this Kickstarter versus the first that made it succeed. Like, what exactly did they include this time to get more backing? I don't know. I only vaguely remembered. Like, I didn't even remember when first looking at this. It's like, oh, this looks really cool. I really like this. And then just when I started talking about it for God Bless the Crowd, I was like, wait, we've seen this before, right?
Yes,
so I'm wondering what they changed, but honestly, I think the game looks really, really cool. You hit the nail on the head, though, with the comparison to like mobile games, because its art style does look very, very much like a mobile game.
Yeah, I agree.
Like currently, I'm playing a lot of like Idle Heroes. This very much reminds me of Idle Heroes.
Yeah.
The art style at the very least.
Yeah. If you look at, so one of the cool things about Kickstarters is you can see failed attempts. And honestly, if you look at a lot of what is shown, it's very similar. Like there's not a lot that they changed up. There's a few things. It's a bit more fleshed out. I think that their demo is more complete, because if you read the first one, or not the first one, but the newer one, they talk about the fact that like now that the demo is like good to go, like we're ready to really showcase this. So maybe something changed with that. Yeah, because it looks like the other one talks about more like iterations and different ideas. They still have the same kind of like the budget allocation. They still have their same bios. They still have a lot of the same screenshots. There's a few newer ones, but like it's not a crazy amount different. I don't remember where this one was though. Like I don't see anywhere in Kickstarter where it shows you. Oh, okay, here it goes. Last time they pledged for 36,000, which obviously is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But last time they only hit 15. So like they're doing better in that regards. I think they also have a couple of other like higher tiers that are a bit better. And maybe let's see. Yeah, it looks like they upped their price for the actual like to get the game and other things like that. So probably just a little bit of pushing, but they had only 383 backers. This time they have 560 right now. So like it's probably just more marketing outside of it, getting a fan base, more polish on the game, and kind of trying it again. And I think this kind of really speaks to Kickstarters in general, is like sometimes you can have a really good game. Like I thought it was fun the last time, but sometimes it just doesn't catch the attention of people who really want to actually throw their money at something, right?
Yeah. And then I'm glad they brought it back to Kickstarter. They went on this limb again, and it succeeded for them. I think that's really awesome, and continues to, because like they just hit another one of their stretch goals, the 20,000. So now you've got the extra playable character, plus like a red-haired sidekick, which is really cool. Now they've got like animated cutscenes, so I'm glad that it's kind of like going above and beyond.
Right.
Won't that be crazy if they get more than 36,000 in this one?
I know.
They're just like,
they're like, what the fuck? I mean, granted, it doesn't matter, right? Like they're still getting what they need, but yeah, they'd be like, well, why couldn't you just have done this last time? Because I'm sure
there'll definitely be that little bit in the back of their head where they're like, you couldn't have just fucking came to the last Kickstarter. Like, what the fuck?
I'm sure, dude, because if you think about it, like, think of how awful and just discouraging it must be to put your heart and soul into something like a Kickstarter, to be like, because I've talked to these indie devs who sometimes in these interviews who are like, I'm like betting it all on this choice of like, I quit my job, I'm only doing this, I only have enough money to hit XYZ date, like this is when I'm gonna be out of luck. And they're like, but I got this Kickstarter, and then hopefully people give me money, and then we can work on the game and things will go smooth. And it's like, think about if that was their situation and then they didn't get it, and they're like, all right, what do we do? Yeah,
they had to do like a bunch of damage control in their life, and then later on hitting that goal that you wanted, and you're just like, you fucking
feel like you had to put me through years of stress for nothing.
But I'm glad it's happening, and the game looks really good. I honestly can say I think the game looks really, really good. I actually enjoy the animations quite a bit.
Yeah,
I think they look very fluid. Once again, it does look, I mean, we say like things like looks like a mobile game as somewhat of an insult, but I've been thinking like, I don't think it should. I don't think looks like a mobile game should be an insult,
you know what's
because
funny?
mobile games look fucking great.
Yeah, they do. Here's the thing. I wonder if this aesthetic, like maybe it's just because we're old, right? And I know we're not that old. We're not like crazy old, but like we're at the age where now there's a lot more people from a gaming perspective who are probably in that, like, this is a bit of a generalization, but you think of like that Fortnite kind of era of the younger kids, the younger generation that's playing those type of games. And you're like, maybe this is super appealing to them. Maybe like this aesthetic just isn't for us, just because of like an age thing, of a generational like gap.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm gonna be real though. Like I played some Idle Heroes, and I played AFK Arena, and I'm like, these games look better than some games on consoles. Like,
100%.
Obviously, there's a huge there's a huge leap with some of it where it's like, yeah, but these are open world games, like the gameplay is more robust, they aren't idle games and stuff like that, but like they look really fucking good. So I think we need to stop using mobile games as an insult,
never.
because it's kind of making us look like dumbasses at this point.
But I die on this.
The game itself looks really cool. Everybody, be sure to check out Unsung Warriors over on Kickstarter. Let's get them to 36,000. Let's just annoy them that little bit. Just in the back of their head where they're like, fucking assholes. Like, I'm happy, but fuck you guys. You know what I mean? Like, please check it out. Unsung Warriors over on Kickstarter. Big Josh Boy, do you have any last thoughts on this before we move on to our listener questions?
No, I think we did a great job covering it. Definitely check it out.
Okie dokie. So our first listener question this week comes from Chase Hopkins, my
Chase
friend.
who?
Writes in and says, my question is mostly for Juan. By the way, yeah, they call me Juan. Because like our boss could not pronounce the V in my name. He just couldn't. He just kept calling me Juan. And then like our friend would be like Vaughn, and he's like Juan.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. I wondered if he did it on purpose sometimes, but whatever. My question is mostly for Juan. I feel like Josh will scoff at it, which I think is so funny. So Juan, are you ready for the White Claw Surge? Compared to the OG Claw, it's 8%. To the OG's 5%. This is the only thing I could think of a question. So yeah.
Don't you? You don't even drink, right?
What?
Do you even drink?
Not really.
Yeah, that's
no.
what. Anytime I think about you, I'm always like, you never drink.
I drink White Claws sometimes.
Wow, you're so
like
cool.
when I would go hang out with them and stuff, if they had White Claws, like I might take one and kind of like sip on it, because they're not like disgusting or anything like that.
I can't wait
like,
to go to an
I don't
event,
drink.
like a gaming event, and get you super drunk.
I doubt it'll happen. I really don't drink. Like I not really at all.
I'll find a way. I'll find the fruitiest mixed drinks to get you fucked up on.
I've been friends with Chase for like upwards of like 17, 18 years, and he's seen me drunk once.
Well, guess what, Chase? I'm gonna get it.
You're about to break
I'm
that
about to
record.
break it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, Josh, you are a connoisseur of that there, the brews. But are you stoked for the claw, the surge?
I mean, I don't. There's a lot of people who are the like snobs about like White Claw is stupid. I don't care. Like if you like drinking juice, like it's tasty juice. Fuck it. If it's gonna get you messed up and that's what you want, like do it. But I don't like them. I personally just don't like sugary drinks that much, so I can't do a lot of those type of beverages. I'd rather just have a beer or like a gin and tonic. So for me, it's never been interesting. But I guess getting you more drunk is great. Sure, why not? I don't know. I don't know.
Just more bang for your
buck.
More bang
for your buck. Some people need it.
I am the like sugary, like if I'm gonna, okay, here's the thing. I feel like I would drink more alcohol if it tasted better. Like I just got to get that out there. Like I fucking love daiquiris. Like daiquiris are really good. I've only had a few, but they're so good. Yeah, it's basically just an alcoholic icy. Yeah, like it's fucking awesome. And my wife got like, so we went to like Red Robin and we got drinks and stuff like that. I got a daiquiri and it was like blue, was really cool. I was like, haha, it's like an icy. And then she got a mojito and her mojito tasted like shit. And I was like, yeah, because it's fucking leaf water, dude.
You're so funny.
It's gross. It was so good. So I personally, I would say if the White Claw Surge does not taste like more alcohol, but is more alcohol, sure. I'm for it. I think that's cool. Granted, I don't really buy alcohol. Like I don't really drink it, and just in general. So
I rarely do anyway. It's just when it's like a social thing now. Like I don't remember the time like I drank to be like, oh, let's get fucked up kind of a thing. Like I don't do that anymore. I just drink because I'm like, oh, I like the taste of it. Like I'll just have a beer or two.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's just not the same vibe.
Maybe now that I'm like a homeowner, maybe I'll get a chair and I'll go out on my patio and I'll drink a White Claw. You know what I mean? Like, maybe my entire life will change.
Love the idea that you have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to be like, I'll buy a chair and drink a beer now.
It's a little weird. I don't know. There's just like, I feel like I've kind of missed out on like these big like weird achievements that people have had, like drinking on rooftops and shit like that, because I don't drink. But you know,
It's not. It's all. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So, Mr. Philip Renshaw, the Wombat
one.
Emperor of Australia, writes in and says, okay, so my workmate was sick this week with the flu, so I gave him some shit and called him a soft cock.
Sometimes you're just being a soft cock. You know what I mean?
What is that? Now, I
Why don't
didn't
you look it
realize
up?
this, but apparently soft cock is not a widely used term and is actually Aussie slang. It means you are weak, for the record. So I decided to Google image search soft cock.
It's a big no. It's so funny because reading this when these questions come in, I immediately when I read to that part, I was like, oh no, like out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, no, what are you doing?
It's in that moment Phil realized he played himself. He fucked up. To get a sweet-ass meme to message him with, only to find myself looking at a page full of dicks.
Sometimes it happens, man.
Question is, have you ever Googled something without fully thinking through what the search results would actually going to be? So, Big Josh Boy, have you ever done that?
100%. I know that I'm sure I have stories that I just don't recall, like as that are similar to that, because I know, and it's either that or the other one of like Google auto filling you something and you like press enter and you're like, what the fuck? Like there was a story I read about someone who had like the FBI come after him because he put something and Google for some reason auto filled bomb with it. And so they just kept coming to his house and he's like, would you please stop? I didn't want this. Like
he was like trying to Google Bob Ross and it's like bomb. How to make a bomb, and you're like, that's such a huge leap.
But like the other one, it would definitely be when you don't know of something. Like I've gotten tricked with the blue waffle thing.
Dude, that was what I was gonna say. Is like I got tricked with that so many times when I was younger, which is stupid because after the first time you'd think you'd be like, no, I'm not dumb.
Like, I'm not
but me, I'm just like, oh.
I'd be like, I love waffles. Blueberries? It's gotta be great. What could it be?
Yeah, it's like getting got by Ligma more than one time. You know, it's like, fucking
got him. Yeah,
I don't know if I think other than like the blue waffle scenario, I don't think I've ever like accidentally Googled something and not knew what I was doing. Like all the fucked up shit that I've Googled, I meant to do that.
Yeah, no, I've definitely done something like this with the dicks thing, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. I know I have.
So I'm gonna tell you a weird story about Googling stuff that I don't think I've talked about on the podcast before, but I feel like this is
the time.
Completely like, yeah, this is the time to talk about it. So when I was a kid, like, I mean, well, it's not even an I was a kid thing. It's just something that I do. Obviously, big fan of hentai now, but this was like early Vaughn, not understanding what hentai was. And I thought I was smart. Like, you remember when you were a kid and you did things that you were like, you were sure if you did this one way, you would never get caught. You're like, there's no way my parents will ever notice. No fucking way. So my mom never went on our computer. Literally never. My like safe search was put on my profile, but my mom's was not. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on hers. She's never on here. And I'm going to look up Pokemon porn. Not even joking. Yeah. Literally just the 2 words. I didn't even just go to like, just to kind of cover my bases a little bit, just go to Pornhub and then type in Pokemon in the search bar or anything like that. Literally just looked up the words Pokemon porn. And of course, like I was just scrolling through, Jesse, James, all the good stuff, like fucking typical waifus of the day and age. And thinking I got away with it, shot out a knuckle rocket. And then just like weeks later, my mom, like, she was like, hey, Vaughn, will you come here? And like, I had forgotten
so crazy.
about it.
What's crazy?
Entirely.
What's crazy to me is that you have parents that would like engage in the conversation. You know,
because they wanted to make fun of me for it.
Dude, that's what's so crazy,
it's not
though.
like I want to talk to you about like the sex thing. They literally, my mom calls me in just to make fun of me for it.
It's so, yeah. I mean, it's still weird, right? Because like, I'm 100%, there's so many parents out there who would find that and immediately be like, I have no interest. We're just going to forget that. We're going to pretend it never happens. We're not going to engage in this.
Yeah. And then there's my parents who's just like, my mom was like, hey, Vaughn, will you come in here? And I was like, oh, yeah, what's up, Mom? I just walk in all confident, you know. I'm just like, I got away with it.
Cool, Vaughn.
Totally forgot about it. Yeah. I pop in there and she's like, what's that? And I was like,
you know what you should have done?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just fucking whipped it out and started jerking it.
That would be, I mean, that's a bold move.
The ultimate, just like, you asked.
That's some weird Oedipus level shit
like,
where I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. Like, let's
like,
fucking,
it's here.
let's just go full board. We live in Idaho. Incest probably exists, you know? It's just like, whatever. No.
No? Sure.
But
right.
yeah, she like called me out, and now it's like it's a reoccurring joke in my family that I looked up Pokemon porn when I was a kid, which I'm not even ashamed of it, dude. I don't care. Hell yeah, I did. Misty was hot, dude. I still think Jesse's super hot. Like, let's fucking go. James, he's kind of cute too. Let's be real. Ash is probably the only one I don't find at all relatively attractive. Is because Ash is just fucking annoying. Let's be real. But whatever.
All right. Well, this is a weird tangent. Let's go to the next one. So
moving on to the next question. Phil writes in and says, "What are your thoughts on achievements or trophies in video games?" So for me, I'm just gonna talk about Steam cards because,
yeah,
you know, it's better.
This guy.
They're better.
This has nothing to do with each other.
Well, you get them for playing, you know. It's kind of like a little thing.
But it's...
No, I mean there are like Steam achievements and stuff too. So that was just a joke. So what do you think about Steam just achievements and trophies?
I used to really be big into it when I was in the 360 era, Xbox 360. I used to love being an achievement whore. I would play all kinds of games and I would try to, you know, get as much points as I could. I wanted to have the highest score.
Trying to get that gamer
score, man. Trying to be the best gamer out there. And I wasn't. And
you felt cool because you got to shit on your friends because they had such a low gamer score, and you're just like, boom. But it turns out they played like normal games, and you played fucking Shrek 2 and Avatar and Dora the Explorer to get a couple quick points.
No, so I never did that. I don't do the Greg Miller like ridiculous games to get the trophies or whatever.
The Rattleika games?
I would just any game I play, I would try to like go out of my way to be like, all right, I'm gonna look up a guide and see like what part of like what do I have to do, because you know how there's always those like achievements that are you have to really kind of know they're there or just stumble upon them. So I would
like missable achievements.
So
missable trophies.
I'd always like look up guides and look into things and try to find it out and like spoil things just because I'm like, oh, I gotta get that achievement, I gotta get all the scores, I gotta blah. And then I don't know what happened, but I guess I just grew up and I was like, who cares? And I just stopped, and I just don't care anymore. I don't know. I think it's good. Like, don't get me wrong, because I still like it sometimes when, like, I really enjoy a game, you know? The games that I love and I get really endeavored in, I think having those achievements keeps you engaged and is a, you know, a showcase of, like, I did it, rah, whatever. But if it's just a regular game or just something out there, like sometimes now that I'm playing Xbox, I'm back on an account and I have random achievements that keep popping, and some of them are like cool. Like I had one in that dinosaur game where we got an achievement because a dino jumped in the takeoff ship like that we get out at the end of the level, and he just jumped in, and it was like something about like keeping a pet, and both me and my friend were like, what is that achievement for? And it was like the dino jumped in there with you and like left, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like those kind of achievements are interesting. I didn't do anything to get it, I just thought it was funny. Like I love that kind of, you know, just an added story to it. But am I gonna be like, I need to get all 1,000 gamer score on this dinosaur game? Like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before. Like, I very much also was the like gamer score guy, and then I got into like PlayStation trophies, and I've gotten a few platinums and stuff like that. Honestly, I feel like the big pitfall for them when it comes to me is like if they had some real tangible reward, I would be so much more into it. If like I could essentially like for playing games I could get some sort of like merchandise or something. Like if I could get points for trophies, which then I could spend those points on a fucking PlayStation mug or something like that, I would be so much more into it. But right now it's just kind of like
Xbox kind of does that a little, or Microsoft does that a little, where Microsoft has these points, this point system that's like outside of gamer score, and you get achievements, and they also give you like these Xbox Game Pass daily quests or something, where it's like, did you log in every day? Did you play a game every day? Did you do XYZ in these specific games that they're like trying to promote? And then they have these points that you can then enter sweepstakes in to potentially win things. So like there's kind of that, but it's there's no like, oh, I got 1,000 gamer score. So there's like, maybe I said, you know, I'm playing Hollow Knight, right? And I got all this gamer score, these achievements. And because of that, like I can get a Hollow Knight mug or whatever, because I played it to my heart's content, you know, like that would be something really cool. But you'd have to have every person who makes a game would have to be on board with that, or you'd have to, you know, push for whatever.
Also, they could do something like, I mean, obviously, this is kind of like outside of like, what are your thoughts on trophies and achievements? Honestly, I think we both kind of like grown out of just the excitement of them.
Right.
But I feel like now as adults, if they had something like a physical reward, and I'm talking about like, you wouldn't even have to give it for free, just the ability to get something. Like, I was always jealous of the people that I saw in the World of Warcraft t-shirts who had like, I'm a level 100 shaman, and they had like a picture of their character. That shit was so fucking cool. Or like the people who in Destiny, they actually have like, if you beat the raid day one, you get like a patch or you get a jacket, and they actually send it to you. Like, there's so many ways to incentivize people to do things, like we talked about the other day with the Pillars of Eternity. The Deadfire quest thing. Like, I think that's so cool, and I just don't feel like Microsoft and Sony, and even Steam to that effect. Steam now has like, well, I mean, they have the Steam cards, which I think is really, really cool, and I think, like, I'm really not joking. I think Steam cards are awesome, and if they actually tied me being able to get more booster packs and stuff to their achievement system, I would actually try to get more achievements. But like, if there was just some sort of real tangible reward for it, and I felt like I was actually working towards something other than currently, I think it's just bragging rights.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
When you get a platinum trophy, you just say you got a platinum trophy.
Yeah.
There's literally no other reason for it.
Yeah.
Versus, if you got a platinum trophy and you got to display it to anybody, like you got a t-shirt that says, I got the platinum trophy in Dark Souls 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I could make that t-shirt, but it wouldn't be as cool. Then it would just be bragging, you know?
I'm going to tangent into another Josh talks about Binding of Isaac moment. But
okay.
But achievements, Binding of Isaac does a thing where anytime you beat a certain boss with a certain character, or you do a certain one of the challenges and you get that, you get an achievement for it. You can get like 800 achievements in this game. It's ridiculous. But the cool thing is, every time you get that achievement, not only is it bragging rights worthy, because you could say like, look, I'm fucking good. I beat this boss with XYZ. Like, bet you can't do it. But also, you get a new unlock in the game where a new item or a trinket or some type of thing is unlocked in that actual game itself, and then you have the ability to play where you'll have new variables to it, right? Like that kind of stuff is that incentive. Like otherwise, if it's just that gaming score and it's nothing outside the game or nothing inside the game that really changes, it's just like a nice to have, right?
Yeah. I have a similar experience with like Destiny. They have like way back when they still do it, but they are more of like exotic quest lines and stuff, or like they have the like Whisper of the Worm quest line, but there were always like rumors of things in Destiny where it was like, if you beat the Nightfall in under 10 minutes, you will get this special sniper, which ended up being the Black Spindle, and it was like a fucking amazing sniper.
Right.
And I remember like consistently grinding. I played that game I played that one strike so many times with my friends just to get that. And I felt so cool because like after that went away, you could not get it until that strike came back. And it just felt so awesome to be able to actually display to other people that I did something cool. And I feel like that's what's missing from achievements is that, like, there's no way to really display what you did. Like, they can look at your profile, they could see you've got 100 platinum trophies, but outside of that, like, they might go in and see that you got fucking a platinum trophy and my name is Mayo, but, like, it just doesn't feel like you really did anything for me. I mean, that's just kind of what sucks for it. Yeah. In my old age, I want something to be buried with, you know? Like, fucking send me a mug that I can keep in my casket.
Yeah.
Lower me to the ground like an Egyptian pharaoh with all my dumb toys.
It's true. Yeah. And for listening to 200 IndiePod episodes, you too can get our mug.
Dude, I will do that. I will reward people with physical things. You want to pay me? I'll do it. Okay? I don't know what yet, but that's a good idea. I'll do it. So Sam Fillion from Canada writes in and says, what are your thoughts on games as a service? So, Big Josh Boy, what are your thoughts on games as a service?
Scoff.
Yeah, I feel like this is more of a me question.
100%.
Because I
don't play these games.
I'm a big fan of
I don't really play games as a service games just because I don't know, they just don't appeal to me. Like games,
I mean, what are they anymore?
That's a good question.
Games as a service is actually a good description of games because we used to explain them as these persistent games, like Destiny was a games as a service. Yep. It was meant to be a persistent game, and it was supposed to be consistently built upon over and then they released Destiny 2, and it kind of reset it, and it's like, what exactly is a games as a service anymore?
I don't like them because I think it's so cool that the concept of games evolving over time and changing, but I don't like the fact, and we've talked about this before, that a game that you played at the start of a certain time period and a game that I might play the same game at a different time period could be two totally different games, and it's a different experience. It's like, it's great if you're along for the entire ride, but a lot of the times you're not. And if you're not, it just kind of sucks because you just miss out on a ton of stuff. It also just...
Dude, you know what I find really weird? Is that I don't think people use the term games as a service correctly. Because apparently the definition is games as a service refers to games that operate without initial purchase costs and instead make their profits on subscriptions or in-game purchases. That's like entirely different than the way I thought.
Yeah, that's not how I think of it either. Because I guess because there's a lot of games. If this is just wrong. Yeah, because then like a MOBA would be a games, like just about any MOBA would be games as a service, which I guess it kind of
like any mobile game.
I don't. Well,
I mean, most mobile games on phones are like games as a service and stuff like that.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess...
I don't know. This one's Wikipedia. In the video games industry, games as a service represents providing video games or game content on a continuing revenue model similar to software as a service. Games as a service are ways to monetize video games either after their initial sale or to support a free-to-play model. So I guess
kind of.
That's a better definition, because that would, like, Destiny would fall in there, where it's like you have that initial purchase, but what keeps you going is like Eververse and more content and stuff like that.
I think the reason why I don't is because the way I associate games as a service is generally with like MMOs or those type of structured games. And usually I don't enjoy them at all because I always feel like they're just either stretched out in a way that I'd rather it just be a 5-hour, really nicely packed, complete game. Yeah. And it just doesn't really click with me. I usually bounce from game to game really quickly. And so it's like, usually I just want to try something new, whereas this is, you have to be inside that one specific game. You have to kind of live and breathe that. And that's just not how I'm into things. So I don't know.
That's the one thing that really blows about what I understand about games as a service is that you have to basically live and breathe a game, otherwise you're outside of the loop. Like every time I hop back into Destiny 2, like I was a huge D1 fan and kind of fell off the boat with Destiny 2, especially because the loot grind is like totally different, but like I consistently throughout the years try to come back to Destiny 2, and I hop in and I'm like, I don't know what any of this is. Yeah. Like, or World of Warcraft. Like, I love World of Warcraft. I love so many MMOs, but I hop into them like a year later and I'm like, I don't even know how to fucking play this game anymore, dude. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But, I mean, there is something to be said when you lump, like, the free-to-play model into it. I think free-to-play model is really cool, but typically that follows up with pretty egregious, like, microtransactions, which I don't have a problem with microtransactions. I think, like, if you want to pay to speed, well, actually paying to speed things up is really annoying. Like if it skins things that don't actually benefit you or make you any better than anyone else, I think that's totally fine. I like the free to play model, but yeah, games as a service, I don't think they make sense anymore. I'm going to be honest. I don't think that definition makes any sense.
It's hard because if you think about it, like any game is games as a service at this point, because everything is being continually updated. Like there's no game that comes out and they're just like, well, that was fun, and they just dump it and leave it. Like obviously there are a few, and usually that's because the game was a flop, but like a lot of people are continually patching, updating, revising, adding new content. Like that's what it would mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you could say games like No Man's Sky, Dead Cells, they're games as a service. Fucking, I guess you could say, what is it? Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is like a games as a service because that keeps getting updated. Like, when you really think about it, it's such a nebulous term to use anymore that it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I think, like, the very rigid definition, I guess, the few things that I understand as games as a service, I think they're really cool, and I love the continually like updating because it really rewards like people who stay and stick with it, but it really sucks for new and returning players because you basically just get fucked. You're like, I don't know how to play this game. Doesn't make any sense anymore. So Chris Penwell from That Their Active Quest writes in and says, seriously, when will we see Hollow Knight Silksong?
Never.
Apparently when it's done, dude. That's what they said, when it's done. So I've just given up on ever seeing it. Anytime that people are like, it's going to be in this Nintendo, I'm like, it's not. Just don't. Never assume it's going to be anywhere and you'll never be fucking disappointed.
Never.
Easy. And lastly, Josh from That Their Active Quest also writes in and says, are you both addicted to Friday Night Funkin'? I am. I can't stop. It's so fun. What the fuck is this?
You never heard of Friday Night Funkin'?
Literally never.
It's a Newgrounds thing. It's a game that, from what I've seen, it just reminds me of DDR but with a story to it, which Josh really got into. They have like a bunch of reviews and things up on, I think it's Prima Games they're writing for. I kind of failed you, Josh. I wanted to do some research and actually play it and get into it and tell you what I think of it, and I just didn't have time this week, and I realized like 30 minutes before we had to record, so I kind of fucked up. But I promise you next week I'll actually talk about the demo, because this was a game that just did go on a Kickstarter campaign, and it like blew up, like lots of money.
Yeah, it is available over on itch as well.
Yeah, so those versions are like earlier versions, and what they're doing is that Kickstarter is supposed to create like the definitive edition kind of a thing, where it's just a
much more
polished version. The thing with me is I don't like a lot of games that do this, where there's a lot of games where they create kind of like a story and they use the mechanics of general DDR to play into it. And maybe there is more from what I've seen. That's kind of what it just looks like. But I often find that games do not get this right with timing. And a lot of web-based games that try to do the DDR approach feel like a few seconds off as far as when I hit it and when I feel like it should hit, based on games that I've played like DDR, like ITG, like Pump It Up. And if it is even a little bit off, I will fucking hate it. Because I am such a snob when it comes to timing in these type of games, because I played rhythm-based games for so long and I got really good at them, that anything that feels like subpar just is god-awful to me. So I do want to play it. I do want to check it out and see what it's all about, because I think the idea of it is cool, and I love Newgrounds, and it's very much rooted in Newgrounds environment and world and storytelling.
Yeah, I think it said it was like created by 4 Newgrounds users or something like that. It's like a free-to-play open source software.
Yeah, and they've got Newgrounds characters that are like built into it. Like it's a lot of my my past that kind of bubbles up into this, of both Newgrounds and DDR. So I feel like I'll like it, but I'll let you know next week.
Okay. All right. So that is Friday Night Funkin', and that is the end of this episode. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside of the show, make sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter for notifications of when episodes go live, of deals that you may not be able to hear about on the show, for notifications of when our video episodes go live. All sorts of fun stuff, all sorts of indie game stuff over on at IndiePod over on Twitter. Check out our website. It's thepodnot.com. It is also linked in the at IndiePod kind of like a bio. It's like right underneath it where you can include like a website. I'm going to do a new tweet, like an important links tweet to include that. Be sure to also join our Discord. We have awesome conversations there. A lot of awesome peeps. You could check me out, Vaughn, at Hyde Legion. That's HYDELEGION over on Twitter for all my dumb bullshit. You could check out my Twitch streams on Saturdays and Sundays from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Granted, I skipped yesterday because I had to get some homework done that I just did not do. I just like put it off until the very last minute and really shouldn't have, so I had to skip out on it. But I will be streaming tonight. As of the time of recording this, it's Sunday. I'm gonna be playing some more Neo. You could check out the Big Josh Boy over on Twitter at @the_Jorsh90 and twitch.tv/the_Jorsh. Mine, by the way, is twitch.tv/Hyde Legion. I forgot to say that. Josh, do you still like pop on and stream? I haven't seen you do it in a little bit.
It's been about a week. I still do every so often. This week has been honestly a little bit hectic for me. Just a lot of stuff going on. I'll probably be back next week. Like I said, I usually do like Tuesdays, Thursdays ish. Those are kind of the days I pop on. But I'll try to be a little bit better about it. It'll probably just be more of me playing Binding of Isaac though. So I know a lot of people that like we know kind of don't care about it. So if you don't care, what are you gonna do?
But if you do like Binding of Isaac, make sure you check out Big Josh Boy's Twitch streams over there at twitch.tv/the_Jorsh. And of course, got to go through our housekeeping again. Please check out the Sock Monkey Studios developer interview about their game, their upcoming game called Fish Tanks. That one is going live this Wednesday, one day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. That Wednesday is the 5th. So please check that one out. We, of course, our Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion interview has been like popping, by the way.
Yeah.
People are listening the shit out of that.
That's good, man.
They seem to enjoy it.
Well, that's great. I hope we brought a lot of people to pick up that game. I hope that they will respond to my email asking for a copy so that we can try it. Because I'm like, hey, you remember me? We did the interview, and they just fucking ghosted. But I wish them all the best.
Yeah, so please check out that developer interview. Head over to our store over on Teespring, where we've got some new t-shirts, or we've got t-shirts and stickers, soon to be some new stuff. I have my friend Chase, who's also one of our amazing patrons. He's developing a new graphic that I'm going to turn into maybe some t-shirts and stuff like that. So yeah, it does look pretty dope.
Are you going to put that on a hoodie? Are you going to put that on a hoodie? If you put that on a hoodie, I'm going to buy that shit.
You want a fucking hoodie, dude? I'll put it on a hoodie. Do you want it? Are you a fan of like the front of the hoodie or the back of the hoodie? What kind of graphics do you like? You want it like big? You want little and then big?
Little and then big.
That's how I like it too.
Big.
See this little shark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a big shark on the back.
That's good stuff. Yeah. Oh, well, I wish there was a big shark on the back.
Fucking get that hoodie off. Take that shit off.
Yeah, you just see my back.
Show us them nips.
No big deal.
What? Wait, what?
You
say back fat?
Please check out our YouTube channel. Just head over to YouTube, go to IndiePod. You can watch these episodes on video. You could check out Josh's awesome reviews for several games. Soon to pee.
Yeah, after this, after this episode.
Admittedly, I gotta pee pretty bad.
I am soon to pee.
The amount of piss is slowly invading my brain. So soon to be, I'm going to be doing some more demo impressions, possibly some video essays over the summer. So that'll be fun. Please leave us reviews on iTunes specifically. If you write them, we will read them on the show. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons. John, just John.
Just John, baby.
I don't get to call him anything else. We'll see. Mix of Mitosis, aka Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins. Once again, thank you for designing our shit, because you're good at it. Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Imp of Australia. Chris Penwell, always drinking tea. Josh Nichols, that they're active Josh. And lastly, Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much for being patrons at the $3 tier or higher. Thank you to just all of our patrons in general. You're all amazing. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk to you next week.